thank you for coming back or coming to your first happy hour with CADAF and our amazing guests today. It's really nice to see familiar names and new names as well. And there are really, as usual, just 3 simple guidelines to follow. You can ask questions in the chat because for now you cannot unmute yourself. It would be great if you can show your video because at the end of the day it is still a social event. And sir, last but not least, I hope you have your happy hour cocktail or drink of choice we're trying to have like something blue or something green for CADAF colors. So it's a good segue into getting a little a short update on just CADAF online, and I'll give the floor to our amazing fair director, Andrea.
Thank you, Fanny. So, hi, for those of you that were not able to join us last week for the introduction of CADAF online. We're very excited to announce that it's going to happen from from June 25th to the 28th, and it's going to be free for visitors. So all you have to do is RSVP at the CADAF site. And so that's the first update. Now I wanted to give you a little sneak peek of how the platform's looking, but bear with us, it's still in full development mode, but I really wanted to share it with you. And I'm gonna share my screen now.
Wait, where are the drum rolls? It's the first time we show the real platform.
So here is the platform, and it's still not completely finished, but this is like a good way that you can see how it will work. So once you log into the platform, this is what you will find. You will find all the booths are actually bubbles. And depending on the color, there are different sections. So for example, here we will have our art galleries. We can also search by CADAF artists. We have our amazing curator booths of the Lumen Art that are part of our curatorial committee along with Mokta. And then you have the sponsor booths that we have very good news. So just a little quick update. We're very excited to announce that we have partnered with Liberty, and they will give their Liberty Art Award to one of the artists that applies to CADAF. And it's going to be, we're going to start selecting. The applications are open until June 1st. So if you're interested, there's still time to apply. So I just wanted to give you a little sneak peek into a gallery. So Emily, I know you're there, so we wanted to show again your beautiful millennial pink. But how it works is that once you log into the gallery, you can go into booths and actually navigate through them. It supports video, it supports 3D objects, it supports high-res images, it supports all kind of fun stuff. So you will have your details panel, and you can navigate as much as you want. We won't have a transactional aspect. So right now we're just connecting all the exhibitors with all the clients and all the collectors. And our favorite part, one of our favorite parts that I know we are very excited about, is that we're going to have live streaming all the time while this event is happening. It's going to be very interactive. You can have a chat here that you can communicate with everyone in the space, and you can ask questions, and you can know exactly how many people are in. And then here you will have our live streaming that is going to show a lot of events. We're going to have panels, discussions, artist talks, live performances, and you can add things to your calendar and ask questions in the chat to the panelists. So I just wanted to give you that small update, and we're very excited to have today PaceX and Christie, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you, Andrea. So I'll take over, and welcome everyone. I'll briefly introduce our guests again. So we have Anne, who is I don't know, Anne, if you want to wave. She's Senior Director of Special Projects at PaceX. We have Raina, who is a Director of New Media Arts at PaceX, and then we have Cristiano, who is Managing Director of Christie's Italy. So thank you for being here. And so I think, thank you for accepting talking a little bit about the topic about innovation. And I think innovation in our world, in the art world, is a big word, and I think definitely today extremely relevant. So, Cristiano, I'm going to go with women first. So I'm going to ask Anne and Raina if they can tell us a little bit more about PaceX and this project that Pace launched last year.
Sure, I'll jump in. And I also just, I wanted to say that I felt coming into this like I was kind of like seeing an ex-partner of mine. Like I, came from Christie's, I was at Christie's for 10 years. So this is my first time being on a panel with someone from Christie's. So I feel like I'm showing up with my new girlfriend, Raina. Anyway, so it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you guys for including us. I'll tell you, we'll tell you a bit about PaceX, just as a heads up. We're not announcing publicly until July, but we'll share as much as we can. And it's a startup, so it's a separate company from Pace, and it was founded by Mark Glimpture and Molly Dent Brocklehurst of Pace over about a year ago, and it was founded in partnership with a philanthropic organization whose mission is to drive social change. So, and this came from the fact that over the last decade, Molly and Mark started to cultivate relationships with artists, experiential artists who are recognized globally as breaking new ground in how we see and experience the world, and how people can really be transformed by the power of experiencing art in the round. So our business is anchored by those artists, and our business model is a new one for the industry, and Raina will tell you a bit more about that. Our CEO is a woman named Christie, and she has prioritized hiring a staff with radically diverse backgrounds to make sure that we launch a company that really can expand far beyond the art world. So we're a team right now of about 25, and again, representing people from very different industries. Since we're partnering with this organization who drives social change, we're also going to be mission focused. So we're going to be, our decisions will be focused on sustainability, on people, on accessibility, diversity, inclusion, as well as profit. Raina, do you want to continue?
Yeah, sure. So PaceX has started this new groundbreaking business model for experiential and immersive art. We're going to have ticketed venues that are large scale and more, I don't want to say DIY, but more like huge open warehouse spaces. So this is very different if you think about the more intimately sized traditional white wall gallery spaces. And our venues are going to be more pop-up style in nature. And what's different with our model is that artists are going to, that exhibit within our venues will receive a portion of the ticket sale revenue. So as most of you know, like if art sells on the secondary market and auction houses, artists don't receive any profit once it's resold. So this royalties model is more similar to the music industry. And PaceX is really an evolution from an earlier venture by Mark Glimpture that was called Pace Art and Technology, which took place in Palo Alto in 2016. And we took over this old warehouse building that used to be like a Tesla factory, and we showed multiple large-scale immersive projection installations and some LED works. And this was really the first time we had done something that large and colossal, and we sold tickets at this venue. And we actually, it was up for about 10 months, and we sold, there was like 190,000 people that came to visit the show over this course of time. And not just in the Palo Alto area, but people came from San Jose and San Francisco. And the community was really sad, you know, when we shut it down. We then took a smaller version of the show to our space in London, that's in the Royal Academy. And because these works are interactive in nature, it requires only a certain amount of people to be in each room so that it activates the room the way it's intended to be. And so we had about 13,000 visitors come, but we had a waiting list of over 45,000 people that wanted to see the show. And that show was up for 3 months. We then decided to do a much larger show at our gallery space in Beijing. And we had over 270,000 visitors come over the course of 8 months. So these 3 experiences, we learned from them that these interactive immersive rooms, people are really hungry for this type of experience. And simultaneously to having these exhibitions, we witnessed this rising interest from realtors and developers and institutions who were seeking to take artworks and embed them into urban landscapes, architecture and nature, which then allows, you know, people passing by to experience these works as well. So we've noticed an increasing interest in experiences rather than owning a commodity.
Wow, thank you. No, you said a lot of things. I wrote down a few points that you said because it's really interesting, especially, you know, when we now, maybe we can ask Cristiano, who comes from an auction house, and it's obviously a secondary market, so a different business model, but it would be a good contrast to understand, instead of sort of innovation in perhaps in the art that is shown, like at PaceX, and where art becomes also an experience and an immersive experience. What is innovation in carrying out businesses and carrying out businesses operation in the art world today? So I wanted to ask Cristiano if he could maybe pick out 1 or 2 innovative processes that Christie has put in place that he thinks are, you know, at the forefront of innovation for the secondary market.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, first of all. Hi, everyone. My name is Cristiano de Lorenzo. I'm the managing director of Christie's in Italy. So very good points. Innovation has always been indispensable to survive in the secondary market. As it has been in the primary market, of course, and we know it's very competitive out there. So you have to be always ahead, and you always have to think forward. And the current lockdown has, of course, pushed the boundaries, and we were forced to also think about alternative solutions. As you all know, the live auction is something that is very part of our DNA. Christie's have been founded in 1766, so of course it's quite a tradition for us. And it's a moment that in the art market is perceived as a very exciting and you know, kind of event that you want to join, you want to participate to. However, we have seen that in the past years, all our top clients were either bidding on the phone or online or through an advisor physically in the room. So we realized also that our clients were engaging with us online for a number of things. For example, asking for condition reports, registering for a sale, even leaving absentee bids online using the website. So clearly, except for a smaller number of maybe elderly clients that are less technologic, so to say, the majority of our clients is already interacting with us online. So what we are thinking about now, of course, we had to increase the number of online-only auctions. And I would like to say something that is not specific answering your question, but as I think most of you know, up until now, online-only sales were used to offer artworks or collectibles or precious items, including jewelry, watches, and other things, of lesser value, lesser rarity, very selected, very curated sales. But of course, the overall value would be very different from the live sales. So it was kind of seen as a B-series platform as opposed to the main live sale. Right now, this is changing drastically. I mean, we've been in Italy, for example, we will reopen our office next Monday after more than 2.5 months. We started pretty early, as you know, and we all work from home, and we realized that we can do it. We realized that all our team basically was able to work from home. Overall, at Christie's, more than 1,500 employees had been started to work from home, and this was done pretty swiftly and easily and quickly. So for us, the big difficulty is how to go and see the paintings. How do you paintings or whatever it is? Like, how do you go and visit your clients? We don't produce anything, and also differently from you know, as opposed to a gallery which works with specific contemporary living artists. a contemporary art gallery, I mean. So the production is made by the artist, that is as a deal with the gallery, and the gallery shows the work by the artist. In our case, this is not possible. I don't know what I can sell tomorrow. I don't know where I can get it. But if I can't go to the home of the collector and see the picture and convince the collector that he needs to sell with us because we are the best or because whatever, this becomes really difficult. So that's still a problem. We are starting doing valuations. You know, we always did valuations based on photographs, but the reality is that you can't assess, for example, the conservation state of an artwork if you don't see it in the flash with wood lamps or, you know, whatever you can't see, and then maybe the collector doesn't want you to see on top of it. So how do you do, for example, with the shipping? Will you ship the work in and then you can actually finally appraise the work when you get it in our warehouse? Right now, our warehouses are closed. Works cannot travel internationally. The number of flights have been reduced. So all of that, it remains a big, big problem for the business, for the secondary market. That said, what we are working on right now was private sales. And I think speaking of innovation, we're starting doing online galleries, viewing rooms, if you prefer, for private sales across categories, and they are available on the website. This was never so open before because private sales has always been seen as a very private, discreet kind of transaction, and you want to pitch a work to a specific collector, you build a list of 10 names, and then you start from the top and go down according to interest and, of course, financial possibilities. So that's one thing, private sales with online galleries. And the second one, and then I shut up, is that we are launching a new format of sale. You probably read it, it was announced today. It's going to be it's going to be live and online using live streaming. This will be offered across 4 of our top 4 sale rooms. So it means it will start at 8 p.m. in Hong Kong, local time. Then we'll follow with Paris, and then we'll move to London, and then from London to New York. So basically, depending on the local restrictions and regulations, and of course every country has different rules at the moment, depending on the level of the epidemic, clients might be able to come in following security measures, of course, and otherwise everyone can join online or on the phone, watching the sale for the first time in streaming. And you know, this is a big deal. Of course, we already had this Christie's Live system that has been launched a few years ago now, and this was was the first one ever to be launched. As we were the first actually to have a phone line in the sale room in the 80s when we sold the Sunflowers by Van Gogh. So, but you see, there was one telephone in the room in London, then online sale, then tons of telephones, then online sales, and now we can do streaming. So that's, I think, quite interesting.
Thank you. I think we have some questions from the participants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there was one for Anne on what you said about like the role of technology, and I think this is very in line with what Raina explained on the new model of exhibition and revenue sharing. But how do you guys see like technology play a role in decision making for the future regarding sustainability, profit, and inclusion? Like, is that a big part of like what your thought process is for the future?
That's a really great question. I think so. The first thing that just came to my mind was the fact that, you know, technology can really expand the audiences that we have, right? So just giving more people access, bringing it into more people's homes, you know, using more digitally focused marketing initiatives to get the word out, like taking advantage of the fact that, you know, these lines between creative cultures are blurring so much, right? Fashion, fine art, sports, like the lines between these creative industries are blurring so much because of digital access. And so giving people more access to that, I think, will expand this like the art world, which is quite small, to be perfectly honest. So I think that's sort of the first thing that popped into my mind. I'm trying to think, Raina, is there anything else that you want to focus on about our business in particular?
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to engage with audiences in new ways. And I think we're going to also be working with artists to push them to work with new media and digital tools that maybe perhaps they wanted to use before, but just didn't have the connection or the knowledge to do so. So I think we're going to be able to create really amazing and new pieces with our artists.
So I think this is quite a nice segue into like the two other questions like around like the digital art aspect and if you I think that question is for all of you. And it's from Sila, like, who was asking, like, how can we imagine a new art experience of artworks online, like something harnessing the power of digital technology and networks to experience the works that we cannot see at the moment. If you have any insights.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, artists are starting to explore working with like XR, so like across reality, and working with AR and VR and utilizing, you know, some gaming technology so people can all log in and see art. And I feel like you're really familiar with Jakob Decent. Maybe I feel like he's just a great example of what artists could be doing in this time where you can't physically go see an artwork. And because some artwork is made to be viewed from a screen, right? But most, in at least traditional art, you know, it relies on viewers' participation. It relies on you to be in front of that piece, where you can use all your senses. You know, you can see the texture firsthand. So I think this climate, this COVID-19 lockdown that we're all in is definitely causing artists to kind of look within and see how they can engage with digital technology during this time to create new artworks or just connect with different audiences.
Yeah,
no, that's very, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like we've been seeing many institutions in the art world sort of tiptoeing around embracing digital, and this, you know, COVID has really forced an acceleration of that. And clearly, it's now like digital initiatives are clearly on the forefront of everyone's minds now. So hopefully, this will force a focus on that and like more creativity that we haven't necessarily all seen as much as we want to.
Yeah, I think the art industry at large has really adapted quickly to this new virtual lifestyle. I mean, everything that Cristiano just said is you know, really amazing and new. And, you know, Freeze New York, just, you know, since they couldn't, you know, have the fair, they had this online viewing experience. And for the first time ever, you could see prices for almost all of the artworks. So it allowed for this new degree of transparency. You could sort by price and medium and even gender. So I thought that was a really kind of cool, just a different way of kind of experiencing art that, you know, most of the time you can't see all that information when you're walking around the booth. And then museums also, they're having these virtual online exhibition rooms so you can see and kind of navigate through that space. People are hosting, you know, panels like this online and discussions and doing artist studio visits. And more recently in the news, you know, Hauser and Wirth just launched their art lab, which is using kind of VR to visit these imaginary gallery spaces. So I think it's really interesting, you know, even though there's so much darkness and sadness around this time and isolation, there's really a lot of innovation happening that may not have if we weren't forced into this situation.
Yeah, it's definitely the silver lining of you know, crisis is pushing innovation forward, and I think a lot of people are there's a lot of question on PaceX because obviously you have a pending announcement. People are very eager to know like what type of projects or artists you can foster with like mentorship. There's a lot of questions around that. So, or teaming artists even with programmers. Actually, a lot of very good ideas if you're not gonna do it. Like I think, but like I'm wondering if you can share anything or if we should all wait for you. Right.
I think it's safe. I think it's safe to say that we will have flexibility to work with more wide-ranging artists, right? So we're not, you know, we're definitely not a gallery. So more of an ecosystem. And so we will have flexibility to work, to experiment with artists, to work with more emerging artists in this field, and really support them and develop their careers. And yeah, I think I can't say too much, but just supporting them along that journey. And maybe if that entails, helping with certain connections and technological tools, et cetera, like that is certainly something that I think we will foster. But we can't say too much, but.
Good. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay tuned to see what's coming next. But I think one of the things that came into my mind as I was listening to sort of all of you is, obviously Cristiano talked about the challenges of, a business, in more traditional business, and dealing with traditional art instead of actually physical art, to try and innovate and to try to be, sort of going with the pace of the time they were all finding each other. But I wonder if actually, it's inevitable that there will be a synergy between more traditional art and more traditional way of doing businesses with new technology, but also new media art. And I was wondering, it's an open question to the three of you, what you think. Christie's maybe touched upon technology a little bit with the Archetti collaboration, but also I know that, Marina Abramovic is collaborating with Christie's later in the year for a work of virtual reality. So in a way, I wonder if it's also relevant to you at PaceX in your supporting the artists in their career and the growth, and whether actually the secondary market that it's historically more traditional will actually move more towards your world, and finally we will eventually find each other.
Well, I can start this one in. So I think we should define, traditional art first. So we're talking about oil paintings, marble sculptures, nothing digital, just like analog.
Yeah, exactly. Like physical art.
Yeah.
Something that you hang on your wall, for example. Yeah.
I think they're both going to always be there and have their own trajectories, and perhaps they will cross. But I still think, there's, I just think about going to like the Rothko Chapel in Texas and how that's such a profound and spiritual experience. And like, even like if you created this VR experience of it, like would you still have that same feeling? I just think seeing things in the virtual world, it's not the same phenomenological experience as viewing this work in person. There's still like this disconnect. So I think we'll have to see how it works out. It's gonna be very organic. I don't know, Anne, what do you?
I feel like we're just witnessing the evolution of the contemporary art market. And so I think there will be a time in the not so distant future where new media ends up merging in with contemporary art. And, if you think about it, the contemporary departments at the auction houses are already selling more conceptual works in their post-war departments. So I think it's probably just, we're in the middle of this evolution. And so I don't think it'll be too long before we start seeing this work sold more conceptually, right? Like selling an experience, et cetera, on the secondary market.
Yeah, if I may jump in, I think, the business of an auction house is very much based also on the demand. So you are trying to gather artworks that are in demand, so that the collectors are looking for. And maybe it's a generational thing, and I think it is very much a generational thing, since taste slightly changes decade after decade when newer generations have more power to express their taste by spending more money, because of course they have made more money, and it takes time. So and this makes sense. I mean, we are not a museum, we're not a public institution, or even a private institution that is working with contemporary artists to develop new forms of art that can be shared, in VR or online, or by sending a kit to someone, or, you know, there are tons of ideas that can be developed, and artists are amazing at that, of course. But an auction house is selling things, and we also sold occasionally videos and material that relate to performances, so they're not actually an artwork, but they are remnants of an artwork. It's like a archaeological remnant, if you want. Of course, the market is still made by the top collectors that want to buy a stunning Picasso or Rothko or Jeff Koons or Miro or whatever you want. So I think it's very much related to the way we live today. I mean, maybe the old master pictures and traditional decorative arts have been suffering quite a bit over the past 2 decades, particularly in the last 5 years. But people want to buy design, want to buy items to paintings to hang on their walls. So I think it's probably very much linked to the way we live. It would be great that you buy an artwork that you click on a box and then all of a sudden you are in a new environment, which is not your home, it's something else. You're in a different experience and you live it. And it's only that kind of miracle that you can live in that very moment. But we're not quite there yet, I'm afraid. Hopefully one day.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think we will get there one day. I think the, you know, people that like have authority or power in all of these institutions, and also that have the wealth, like the top 1%, they didn't grow up in the same way, and they're not as accustomed to using like PCs and monitors and all that. So I do think that there's that video art is going to be very successful, especially as people our age, you know, start to make more money and want to collect more art. There's also, you know, like different ways you can collect it now, Data NYC and using blockchain-enabled platforms, or even potentially being able to split, you know, own like a piece or a token of an artwork. So I think we're going to see this kind of shift in buyer's market, and it's going to be, you know, a different class of people that are buying objects, just probably at a lower price point.
Thank you.
Can I say something, if I may, Giulia? Because I've seen that on the chat, there are questions running, and one is, where Elliot was commenting that apparently there is very little, or there's also another question for me, but there is very little difference between experiencing a work physically or virtually. I think that it depends. I mean, maybe scientifically, yes, but first of all, I would like to say that at least in the current market and in the current society rather than market, I think someone that wants to buy an artwork wants to own an object. There is a matter of owning something. There is also an element of status symbol, and there is an element of decoration. So of course there is the proper real collector, which is passionate about arts and is thinking more like a museum, like a curator would collect, and they don't necessarily want to showcase all the pieces on the walls of their homes, but they just want to, you know, build a collection that makes sense from a curatorial perspective, like if they were curators. But in any case, a physical object experimented online or in presence, I think all of us would agree, it's very, very different. It depends on the technique. Maybe a photograph can do, but again, a vintage print from, I don't know, 1930s or 20s, the patina, all the nuances, you would lose that. So from that point of view, I think it's not possible. I think there is a question though on auctions.
I would tag on to that actually. I would mention actually, Cristiano, you just mentioned the importance of ownership, but I think that there's clearly a rise in the experience economy, right? And, you know, the younger generation prioritizing experiences over ownership. And that's something that we're certainly keeping in mind, like, as we launch this new business. And so that, you know, will be interesting to see how that ends up putting a premium on these works that are inherently immersive and experiential and aren't to be owned, but are to be experienced.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Lorenzo, I think there's a question more for auction houses, and
yes, I saw it.
That, if you feel that what auction houses choose to sell can improve the perceived value of national art. It's kind of a chicken and egg question. Maybe and the demand will show up in the future generations of collector. Thank you, Dida and Anya, like for the question. I think it's, yeah, it's a very relevant for how we make that.
So it's, I think, yes and no. Yes, because I think that what a big auction house, big international auction house can count upon is this platform, this network. And this is where you can make a difference, because what you're posting on your website will be seen by many, many people. So that's where you have the chance to propose something that is really new, that people are not used to, they're not familiar with. And it happened many times. I mean, even in the traditional field of traditional meaning of post-war art, not even contemporary, we have been building markets for specific artists that were completely neglected by collectors, because they just simply never come at auction. They wouldn't know those works, and they didn't know that they could like them. So if you don't know that something beautiful exists, like it's like when you're dating someone, you meet. How would you know that's the person that is the right person for you unless you meet that person? So it's very important to propose something on a platform. On the other hand, it takes time to build the market. And from my perspective, I mean, traditionally, the system, as most of you will know, is that the artist creates something, the gallery showcases the work is purchased by a museum and by a collector. And that's how you gradually include the works by that artist or group of artists, or even movement at some point, are then part of a museum collection. They are acknowledged as a real trend. And then the wider audience starts to see them and understand them, and maybe also has the, to understand something that is really contemporary, that it's unprecedented. It's very difficult for a wide audience. And so I think it takes time. So yes, it is possible. Commercially, it's not probably the most rewarding thing, but it could be instead a great investment if, of course, the collector understands the value of an item that is really new. I don't know what you ladies think.
Fanny, do you have other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to ask one.
Well, there was one, I think, in terms of as a follow-up, but I think a little bit more towards like PaceX model of exhibition, like from Claire asking if, similar to the photos of process art that became the object, might ephemera of experience art become the sellable object. So let's say, like, how would an experience become, translate into the market?
Yeah, I think that, creating, I mean, on a basic level, creating prints of the Rain Room, or, creating, or like Team Lab selling, small screens, et cetera. I think there's certainly a way to make things more commercially accessible and to ease people into it, and give them something maybe that they want to take home, certainly.
And Leo Villarreal, he has these small scale, really beautiful, mesmerizing LED works. So you go to see, like a big, large scale video wall of his, and you really loved it, wanted to take something home. There's this intimate size works. So a lot of these artists are creating these large scale installations alongside with more smaller saleable works. But just, of course, the artist would prefer to be working in these big experiential time-based worlds. But they also are creating, smaller objects. And and video performances of some of these experiences, that's another way besides photography that we also could let people take a piece home.
Also, if I may say something about collectors and the importance that collectors have played in the career of artists, actually, because sometimes collectors, of course, are in direct contact with the artist, and they even buy directly from the artist studio, and they help them financially. So sometimes they basically maintain them practically by purchasing those works, and they have contributed to creating a new aesthetic in a way, because of course the artist decodes a new concept, a new idea into an artwork. But to find someone, an individual that understands that and that showcases it in a private dimension, and that person might, you know, there have been collectors, and there are many collectors that are themselves, they have an incredible eye, and they themselves create trends in a way. So I think the taste element is very important. I'm not talking about like good taste, bad taste. I'm really thinking about you know, when a new trend and movement comes out, that a private collector understands that and is able to want to own a piece of it because it really speaks of our times, I think is remarkable, and it's what collectors want when they are really into contemporary art. But again, when we're speaking about collectors, they want to own something physical. It's about owning something that you can only have. Otherwise, it's going to be in a museum and everyone can see it. And of course, it's great. But when you want to buy something, it's because you want to own it. You want to be the exclusive owner of that item.
Yeah.
Well, sorry.
Oh yeah. I just like to respond. Sorry. Yeah, because
go ahead.
PaceX will also be, you know, we'll be selling objects, but that's not our main focus because, you know, like we've been saying, we want to have this experiential show because we realize, you know, it's the general audience and public that really are more hungry for experiences. And, you know, it's also, you can buy a ticket and have this whole experience. And I think if other people that are collecting art, then we have works that complement the show that could be purchased. And I do feel that some collectors from other generations, you know, do feel like it's a little bit intimidating to collect this kind of art, but that's the role of the gallery. That's the role of PaceX, is to get collectors comfortable because we're really using technology every day, and it's going to have some maintenance and it might break down, but like we'll always be there to help the collector. And we hope that with having these large scale shows, it will really incite them and get them asking questions. And, you know, we'll start this dialogue about this new medium. I mean, artists are using technology as the medium of today. You know, we've had a history of this with Nam June Paik, Terrell's, you know, cutting edge projector pieces. Artists are always kind of using the tools of the time. And Anne and I were even talking about Warhol and Lichtenstein. And so we just feel like this is the next generation, the to be written about kind of genre and art history textbook. And we're really excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, and it's becoming increasingly clear that, you know, digital is the universal language right now globally. And if we're focusing on art that is utilizing that to educate people on what art can do for you and how it can really move you and help you process complicated emotions, et cetera, like this is an opportunity to educate the next generation of people who could possibly become collectors, right? It's another way to just expose the broader public to the power of art.
I think you've answered my questions. My questions were about, you know, the age of collectors and whether, you know, what Cristiano mentioned about having the physical artwork on the wall and that experience is going to decrease as the age of collectors decreases as well. So i.e. collectors are getting younger, it's a new generation, they grew up with technology, they're looking for something different, and perhaps they will also be more comfortable sort of buying something online or an experience that doesn't need to be on the wall, but they know that they can keep in a different way. So I think it's also the shift of thinking that we own something if it's there, if it's physically that we can see it. We can still own a digital artwork. So it's something that I also wanted to ask Cristiano, for example, because I think nobody will expect Christie's as such a more traditional business model to suddenly change and embrace digital art, you know, 100%. But I thought it was, you know, quite a big sign with the Marina Abramovich artwork that it's being sold later in the year. They're effectively, you're selling an experience, so nobody can put it on the wall. What do you think, Cristiano, about this?
I think that we are more perceived as a traditional business. Maybe we look a little traditional. And I have been actually raising this with our head of marketing, that we are dressed also too traditional. And this needs to change, because actually we employ a lot of young people that bring on the table a lot of really interesting ideas. I think we are serving a very wide audience that includes older generations and younger generations. Older generation are affectionate to the idea of owning a Picasso on the wall. But many young collectors still would want to own a Basquiat rather than a video, but they might also buy videos. I think auction houses, as I said before, I think auction houses can play a big role using their platform, which is so wide, to vehicle these new art forms and media. It depends on what it is. Of course, right now, since we are also potentiating our online selling platforms, you can sell actually non-physical art much more easily. Maybe it's impossible to sell a performance, even if we did that a couple of times, to sell a performance in a live auction. Actually, the auctioning of that work was the artwork that the buyer was buying. So we did this kind of experiments, if you see what I mean. I still believe that this is very much the mission of a contemporary art gallery and of a contemporary art museum, private or public, to be able to scout the best contemporary artists, understand what is really interesting and new, and be able to bring it out. Then the auction house comes second. That's why we're in the secondary market. On the other hand, there is another one of the questions that I saw scrolling through in the chat, which I thought was very interesting, is about conservation of all these items, because we know all well that, for example, artworks that were done by installations using old televisions or neons or materials that are very fragile. Think of bread, or think of burnt paper, or think of all sorts of things that, this will open a huge number of new possibilities for the operators in the field of conservation and preservation of artworks, which will be of great interest. Normally, here's the traditional auction house guy speaking again, it is much more difficult to sell for a high price a highly fragile artwork at auction.
So you're faster than me to answer questions from the chat. I honestly, like, on the conservation side of things, I think this is like such an important subject that, like, I would even want to keep that for like a later talk, because it's very, it's essential. But I think from we were more focused on the market side of things. So I think this is like to go back to that side, and maybe asking Anne and Raina, who've been involved in like more of the other type of primary markets. Like, Anne, you've done a lot of blockchain, like you've been advising a lot of art and blockchain projects, and where there is a lot of innovation. There is, it's still very new, but it's still also like very, as Ottavia said, like there's so much more gamification and different business models that are appearing. And so kind of playing the devil's advocate, like what do we need to like concretize and build upon, like the what Christie has done, like with like a few sales on digital art, but that like what in the primary market can we do to make that sustainable and like more a long-term initiative?
I am very excited to answer this question. Sorry, I'm probably a broken record, and I'm sure many of you heard me say this, but I think that, every time we ask these questions about, how can artificial intelligence, improve the art world? How can we get more transparency? How can blockchain affect it? How can we, engage new clients, et cetera? I feel like the big piece that's still missing is sharing data. I think about the fact that the industry has you know, not to generalize, but many clients are shared among many galleries, many auction houses. Many of the works are traded back and forth from institutions to client, et cetera. Many pieces are traded multiple times in the market, and none of that, you know, all of that is analog, right? All of that data is stored specifically with each independent institution. And if we could get to a place where there was just a consortium of the industry and everyone agreed that they would share this data about the same property, you know, while maintaining their confidentiality, but just making it easier to access provenance, having transparent pricing, like that's another element of it that I think could really improve the market and really engage more people and move this forward, is to make private sales visible, right? Like make it so that people understand how the market even exists, right? How value is created. So I feel like that's sort of on my mind right now, is I wish that there was more forward momentum getting industry leaders together to talk about how to, you know, legally and ethically get that data sharing started. That's my number one point.
I mean, kudos. Yes, kudos. Yeah, I think it's spot on. But this is an argument that could take, you know, 2 or 3 more happy virtual hours. I think this is the key, and that is the hurdle for all of us also working in the art industry, whether it's the more traditional, just say, or the more technological side. Sharing data and big data is it's a problem, and you know, confidentiality and it goes back to the concept of owning, right? So we're owning an artwork, and we're also owning the information about clients and artworks as well. We have to, I think,
Giulia, you're saying it doesn't have to be big data, right? Like it can be decentralized, right? So that's, I think, something that we'd really benefit from. Sorry, I interrupted you, Cristiano.
No, not at all, not at all. I just wanted to say about the digitalization of the information on artworks and this. I think it's very, I very much hope that it's going to happen soon, that something like a proper passport, digital passport for an artwork is created. And I think this change could really start more from the galleries, because if a digital passport internationally recognized, I mean, it needs to be started by the ministries of cultures and probably the customs associations and many other players in the cultural world. But this would be so fantastic to be able to track down everything. Would make the market much safer and would make the artworks much more traceable, and things would not get lost. And I think it would be brilliant to do that. So I just want to say that on one hand. On the other hand, I can see that there are lots of conversation going on the chat. I can't even keep up with that because I also speak.
No, that's what I'm here for. And there's actually a comment from Elliot that is exactly about that, on how you reconcile the need for more data and the increase of private sales, for example, at auction houses or.
Sure. I mean, there have always been private sales. You know, they're doing exactly the opposite. Yeah, and particularly now that they can't have live auctions, but I still strongly believe that if prices were to become transparent, we would see a rise in trust from potential clients. We'd see a rise in clients. We'd see a rise in engagement. I still feel really strongly about that. Also,
sorry, private sales normally, for those that do not know, auction house, I mean, James Christie himself, the founder of Christie's, sold the collection of Horace Walpole to Catherine the Great of Russia in the 18th century. So this is an old tradition for us. But that said, private sales, normally it's done when the seller wants to take his time or her time. When they do not want basically to take any risks, which the auction implies. I mean, we all know that what is genius of the auction mechanism is that the participants, the potential buyers, the bidders are there, and they feel that they might lose the chance of their life to get that work. And that triggers your wish of, you know, raising your hand once more or clicking on your mouse once more or whatever you do these days. But it's very important. That's the mechanism. That's why it works. For example, with an online sale, this is a little bit diluted, because normally the online sale online only, stays there up for 2 weeks, normally 3 weeks. First week is like viewing, second week and third week is bidding. But the second week is normally very quiet because people wait for the third week, and then the last days they click like crazy. And actually in the very last few seconds before the auction closes, they will all go mad and prices will raise. So that's online sales. So there is also something that needs to be refined there. Probably it's not working so perfectly yet. Probably, I mean, if you haven't bought an online sale yet, you will maybe one day experience. You can also experience that on eBay. That said, private sales are done to be private, so to be more discreet, to take your time, and to sell for a specific price. So you don't want to go below a certain amount. And auction estimates, it is known, need to be attractive. Otherwise, buyers will not engage. You will not get the high price. So it's a different way of dealing with art. The chat is going on forever. I don't know.
No, thank you.
It's perfect. There's actually, you know, thanks, Emily. We're answering other questions in chat while you're answering other questions. It's like multitasking. So
multitasking, yes. No, I sorry, I interrupted just because we don't have a lot of time left. So I also was wondering if anyone had any questions on the CADAF platform that we saw at the beginning, and Andrea can answer questions sort of before we wrap up and say goodbye.
Meanwhile, thank you guys. I'm just, there's like, I can't believe there's 78 people in this room. This is just so exciting.
No, thank you. To be honest, I could go on and talk about this for another hour, but
we need another conversation.
Yeah, we need a part two. I would love to get into conservation and digital security.
Innovation.
We do, so you know, it's Giulia's nightmare now because there's not enough weeks, and we keep like sending her new subjects, and now we have another one, Giulia, on conservation.
That's great. I'm really interested in that.
There's also definitely a need for more data, and we're gonna have someone from Barnaby's talk about more of the online data and like learnings from the COVID-19 period, and many more that I'm probably unaware of as well. But yeah, I mean, this is quite an exciting time, and I'm very looking forward personally as well to PaceX new experience, because as we've talked about like before, it's very much like a silver lining of the COVID-19 is and what pushed us to really do CADAF online. We were physical events as well, and pushing new technologies, being more innovative, and I think this is exactly what the art market needs, like taking some knowledge and you know, out of the box thinking from other industries, gamification, like online platforms, and like other industries as well. So and other models. I think we've been you know, in that primary versus secondary market for way too long. And this is kind of where these collaborative events with like revenue shares, you mentioned, Raina, and even like CADAF, like we're at first we're like, okay, we did art fair, so we're going to do an art fair online, but organically it's becoming way more of a community event where we can actually work with other institutions, work with other art fairs, even auction houses. It's like, you know, now it's not taboo anymore. Like an auction house can show preview at an art fair. I mean, why not, you know? It's quite, you know, I'm going to repeat myself as well, Anne, like, but it's quite a very interesting moment to be in this industry. And yeah, so thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was
Thank
really
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
All right, till next time then. Have a good weekend.
Guys.
And, enjoy a cocktail if you're in Europe or East. All right, bye.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Ciao.
I'm always afraid of like closing down the meeting.
Yeah, I want to read all the chats.
It will be available, so you can reread the chat if you need. Lisa, So, and we see François is still here. So you guys can unmute yourself. I actually give you the power back. So anybody can unmute themselves. Hi, Travis. Oh, look, the little baby. Liz is yeah, she just needed something, I think so.
Thank you so
Hello.
much.
Thank you. Hi.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Elena, you're in the dark. You're like, oh.
For dark humor.
Scary.
Yeah,
it's very
hello,
dark.
Fanny.
Yes, hi.
Hi, I'm Sila.
Hi.
I'm here. Yeah, I'm just discovering CADAF. Actually, it's through a collaboration I have with .art.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, it's a brilliant, interesting platform. And yeah, we are, and .art asked us to see how to, if we want to present in their booth. And yes, we were definitely wondering what kind of possibilities we have to work with the platform a bit beyond the, you know, viewing paradigm.
So maybe Andrea, do you want to show Attila just the demo that you showed at the beginning? Because I might show you a bit of the maybe more of the chat as well, and the type of artwork that you can have. Or if you have specific questions, like feel free to stop or.
Yeah. So, can you see my screen now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. So how we're planning this event is like we really wanted to like be able and give a full scope of what's happening in the fair. So we came up with a floor plan that allows you to do so. And it's as we were thinking with the developers to build this platform, it was one thing that we value above all in this platform, I think, is the social aspects, because going to a physical event, we can never really recreate a physical event, but one thing that we love about physical events is the social part. So here you can see you have a chat that you can know exactly how many people are in the gallery space with you.
Oh, can I screenshot it? So
yeah, of course.
Okay, super. Can you get the chat up again?
The what?
Can you bring up the chat window again? Sorry, we'd like to. Thank you.
Great. So here's the chat. So you can see everyone that's participating in the event and everyone that's logged into the event. So you can chat like on a bigger level with everyone that's on the art fair, or you can chat one-on-one with certain people. And then we wanted to make a map that was kind of different, and it's color-coded. So now we have Mana that is going to be showing their artist studios. So we have the Mana section, and they're going to have all their artist studios, and you can create as many of the sections as needed depending on the platform. So here you have like the sponsored section, and here you have the CADAF galleries and the CADAF artists. And you can search either by CADAF galleries or you can search by CADAF artists. And then of course, we also have the normal viewing setting of like just seeing them in a list. But what is really nice is that while you're discovering this map, you can see how many people are in what booth, and it'll show you. And at the same time as you're in the map, there will be a live streaming that is going to include artist talks, artist presentations, panel discussions on several subjects. And since it's going to be live streaming for all the time, like 24 hours while the fair is happening, everybody's going to be connected to their computer. So you can actually ask questions to the panelists on the chat and interact with the audience that's also viewing the same thing as you. And the schedule is not ready yet, but we're working on it. So once it's done, you can actually add talks to your calendar so that you're reminded that that is happening. So when you are browsing the booths, here we can go into this one. Once you click on it, it'll tell you, and you have the option to enter the booth. And it's really nice. It has a lot of functionalities. It supports video, it supports 3D objects, high-res images, GIFs. And so here you have like the artist the artist name. You can add here in the detail panel all the supporting documents. So if you want to, like, if you have an artwork that you want to show like how it was built or the process around it, you can add a video in this detail panel, or pictures, or a recording explaining the video. And since we won't have a transactional aspect at this point, if you're interested in purchasing the work, what the viewer will do is they will directly inquire with the gallery store artist that they're interested in, that'll arrive to your email. And then we'll let you take it from there. But while you're in a gallery booth, you also have the gallery chat. So you can chat about the artwork or about the gallery and have one-on-one conversations with the person in charge. And here you can see like a little key of all the artworks that are in the space. And you can see how many people are in that gallery. And from those people, you can see who's looking at what. So we're really trying to gather a lot of data to after the event share with everyone to see like what they can do. Oh, here's Fanny in the platform. So this is cool because now I can show you something else since we have someone else joining the platform. So how you scroll through the booths is with your arrows, and so it will play the videos, it will play anything you want. And if, for example, you believe that this artwork would look better with a black background, you can just turn the background black, and that works really nicely for some of the artworks. And
sorry, again, what is the degree of autonomy that the user has over the viewing options?
So the viewing options, they can see it either with a white background or with a black background.
Oh, okay.
And we're working on a feature for physical artworks that once we have the measurements is something that is still like being worked on, and we hope to have by June, that if you have the measurements, you can see them in scale, like how they would look in a wall.
Okay.
Because that's not the case for all of the
yeah. And what is that square? Sorry, in the previous screen there was some, yeah, what is that square thing, that rectangle with a...
The little rectangle is your little, it's the people who if you expand and you can see like the little it's the people who see the artworks at the same time as you. And these little avatars per se are pretty much walk that you took, like your path through the artworks. Okay. So it's not totally random, but it's still generated. So so we have that, and you will be able, and here the little two dots.
I think this is kind of cool. Now that Fanny's in, I can actually show this little black dots. Oh, one disappeared. It'll tell you how many people are in each gallery at a certain point. So we're really trying hard to make the platform not collapse at any moment. So we're putting caps on booths. So for example, this gallery has a cap of 100 persons. So if you see a bunch of little dots around it, it means that booth is very full at the moment. But while you're navigating the booths, you will also get notifications that some of our scheduling is about to start, or some talks that you were interested to are about to happen. So you can actually just jump back into the map and watch the live stream. And then this is something cool that I would like to show you, but it's just the way that our backend is working that I think is beautiful. So it's still under development to a point, but here you can see that once you're an exhibitor and you want to like populate your booth, this is what you will get. So you have all your artwork. We have two booth sizes, one that has 9 artworks for artists and one that has 25 artworks for galleries or larger collectives. So you just have to like go and edit your work, and you can add videos and anything you want, and you can create your authors. Oh, this one has a lot. So you just you can create your authors. So then if you Google one of the artists, all the things that are in the map that belong to the artist will pop up. And so it's really user-friendly for the exhibitors to post. And of course, you can move all the artworks around. You can go into edit mode of your booth and create a description, post an image that will be shown like as your entry to the booth. And one thing that is important to notice that the booths you enter through the middle, so that you can actually go either side, up and down. And so this image, sometimes we suggest for some people that if they want to make an introduction or upload a video of their practice or their gallery, that can be a good way to start the experience. And then
I think that, sorry, go ahead.
Would it be possible to introduce a links into the text? And if so, how would they open?
Of course. So let me show you. I think I added some here. This is all test booths that I made. So please ignore my descriptions and and the names of the galleries. But so links, for example, in this one, what we have done is that we added, like, to buy an artwork, you click on the website. And so you can actually navigate the website from the detail panel. That is very nice, because since we're not having a transactional aspect this time, we really, for people that want to sell their works, we're trying to find like ways that we can involve them without being too intrusive. So you can upload here a link to the marketplace, a link to a video. You can embed videos in this detail panel. And yeah, I think
it's really rich. Like the idea is to also go away from the, you know, just having like a text next to a picture and being able to tell the story. So using rich content. So it's not just link, you can embed videos or any other type of content. And this is kind of where we want to see from the artists they come up with, because we, you know, like whatever you develop or like whatever you think is going to be used is always used differently by the artists. And so this is kind of where we're going to learn as well, like how to tell a story of an artwork online better, because for me, this has always been a pain point, especially for digital art, to really be able to tell the story online, because when you see a 2D object and a text and a description, it's like it's boring. I mean, it's really hard to show the depth of it. So
yeah. So here you can see
the
like
chat. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Too fast. So here, just to show you, just to give you an idea of what you can include in the detail panel, this is the detail panel that goes near the artwork. So you can decide to upload a picture, a video, a recording, embed a YouTube channel, a YouTube video, Vimeo, or a website. So you just have to tell the platform what you're embedding, and then it'll translate it for you.
Okay, super. Cool. Sorry, I'm already thinking. Brilliant. Thank you very much. I also understood there was an independent artist entry, or how does it?
Yes, so we have our applications for both galleries, independent artists, and artist collectives. We have them open until June 1st. And we're starting right now to accept people on a rolling basis, like the curatorial committee looks over everything, and then we are starting to already accept people, which is very exciting. So yeah, so how it will work is you have CADAF galleries here, but you can also have the section for independent artists that comes up. So we have booths for both.
Okay, so if you would like to hold some sort of online event within the gallery, would it be possible, or there's a different platform for streaming?
So the streaming, you can stream directly into your, I believe you can stream directly into your booth, because you can add your YouTube channel. So if you're streaming to YouTube or to Vimeo, I believe you can do that. And then you can also pre-record certain things if you want to include that in the details panel. But then this is where most of the programming will be happen, is in this part. So we're also collaborating with a lot of our partners to create the schedule and create very interesting programming that involves like artists, performances.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think this is also an option, like on the events side. The idea is to have like continuous content, a mix of live panels, recorded talks, video art, live performances, and live streams even. So so this is something that if you have anything to, you know, that you would like to show at this event side of things, not outside of your booth, this is something we can also review and yeah.
Yeah, and also just to we're expecting hopefully more people than in our last events, because it's going to be free for visitors and collectors, because it's the first time that we do it online. So it's definitely something that we're very excited about. And we hope that now that it's going global, since it's digital, we expect to have a very interesting audience.
Yeah, it's a pretty big challenge, and I guess, yeah, bravo pour le courage, as they say.
It keeps us, you know, I think we were all saying if we had our events canceled, like we just would be like too depressed. So it's a good thing that, like, even for our sanity, and to make something happen. So it's been
super important.
Been great. Yeah.
Okay, super. I have a few ideas. I wonder, we'll also discuss them with .art, and if it's okay, I have.
Yeah, please email. Be in touch. Yeah. You have my email, so like, please be in touch, because this is again, I guess this is an experiment, and we're all learning from, you know, every day we have other things. So
super.
So all right.
Thank you very much. And,
thank you.
Yes, thank you. I think if nobody has more questions, I think we can wrap up here. But I'll put this is me and Andrea in email, or you have the contacts on cadaf.art. But like, you know, if you have any questions, like, we can continue the discussion, and hope to see you next week at the next one.
Thank you so much.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.